I did it. It took me almost 3 years to create that boundary, but I finally did it. I got to thank everybody who reached out to me after the last video that I shared about boundaries. Because at first I deleted it after I originally posted it. And then it took somebody who I haven't spoken to in 7 years to reach out to me and let me know they had watched it and how proud she was of me and how courageous it was. So I reshared it again, and then I had so many other people reach out to me, so many other women reach out to me and thank me for being so courageous and helping them find their voice. Because it's so important, because when you silence, when you don't speak about what's going on in your heart and in your head and in your soul, you're silencing yourself and you're holding it all in, and it's toxic, really. It starts affecting not just your mental health, but your physical health as well, your sleep patterns, how you respond to other situations. Yeah, it really, really affects you. So it's taken me quite some time to do this one. And again, I know part of that was my own issues, abandonment issues with women, stemming from my birth mother and the woman who was supposed to have taken care of me. Over the last, I didn't want to create that boundary also because not just about that and my own personal issues with friendships and connections with women, because I do have a couple that are just amazing. Some of them have been in my life for a long time, like my dear friend Kendra. She's been through me with my ups and downs and all arounds and has always been there, even through her own trials and tribulations. My dear friend Kim, fortunately she's moved away now, but we still talk on the regular and love and miss her every day. But I realized those are true connections. There's no give or take or anything like that. It's just we're there for each other. But yeah, and the other reason why I knew I was struggling was because, this person and her husband have been a huge part in our lives. And I didn't want it to affect my husband's relationship with her husband. So, I choose to bite my tongue. It was in 2022, so end of August, beginning of September. It was a municipal election year, and I decided that I was going to step up to the plate and run for mayor. But I can say with all honesty, that was a trauma response. That was the fight in me. We had just lost our dear friend Doug Davis just a couple weeks prior, and he was a political science major, so he was our previous MLA's campaign manager for many years, and he always wanted me to run, and he said that he would be my campaign manager. So when he passed, I said I was doing it for him. But I think, to be 100% honest, I was doing it as a distraction to what I was going through. I had just gotten my file from MCFD just a couple months prior, which I wasn't able to process at that time because I was getting my preparations in order for the CSU hearing, which was just in July of that year. So I had so much on my plate. We were trying to convert the S&M Medicinal Sweet Shop into Blunt's Cafe, and it wasn't going well, and it was just one pile of bullshit on top of the other pile of bullshit, and I knew I needed a distraction, so I threw my hat in the ring for that. And I created, I got all the paperwork in order. I had some friends sign it for me, which is something that you need to do. I put up my bio on Facebook, created a Michelle Socorro mayoral candidate page, and I put my bio and a picture of myself, and I got such a tremendous response. It had been viewed over 13,000 times in less than 24 hours, and that's huge for our small community. But then the narcissistic backlashers came out. And I can say now, because of communication with other people in the community during that time and after, and things that have transpired in our community afterwards, it was one of the other mayoral candidates at that time whose social media henchmen decided to attack me. And yeah, I lost my shit. And I think in some ways, rightfully so. But also I think in some ways, yeah, I probably could have handled it a little bit better. But I was under such tremendous pressure at that time, and my CPTSD was just out of control. And, you know, like I said, I was dealing with everything that I found out from my file, dealing with the CSU, our dear friend Doug Davis, who passed away, my bestie moved away. It was just a really tough time. And yeah, a couple of people decided to question my ethnicity. I mean, it's obviously I'm a brown person. And in my bio, I had written, because of my life experiences, I have a good understanding of a marginalized community, and I have a good understanding of the issues that face a huge population of our community, the indigenous people in our community. Because right at that time, it was the year before, and I know that was another big trigger for me, and that's one of the reasons why I requested my file from MCFD, was of all of the disgusting facts that came out about our residential schools in our country. And hearing what those, it's gonna make me cry. Hearing what those children endured and listening to them as grown-ups. And I really connected with them. You know, they were raised in a system that made them feel unworthy, made them feel that they were dirty, made them hate themselves, made them stop believing in their culture. They tried to erase them. They tried to brainwash them. They stole their identity from them. They were beaten, raped, and murdered. And that stirred up so much in me of things that I went through. And that's when I really started thinking about that little girl, and how her language was stolen, how her identity was stolen, how she was raised in a system that didn't respect her culture. The people that she was with made fun of her, changed her name. She was beaten and raped and left for dead. So that little girl in me really related to the suffering, the countless number of children that were put into that system. And then we went to the day school. And as many Indigenous people would say, and it's true, we don't have residential schools or day schools anymore. It's all been switched over to MCFD. Or back then, during my time, it started out as CSP, so the Children Protective Services, CPS. But anyways, so yeah, I got really attacked about that. People were questioning my ethnicity, saying that where I come from could affect my roles and responsibilities as mayor of Sechelt. And I took great offense to that. And it was strange that it was actually a couple of Indigenous women who came out and attacked me on that. I still find it baffling. But anyways, so this person that I had to unfriend, she was by my side through a lot of things. When I got my file, when I was preparing for court. But then I realized more recently, she was also working for us at that time. And that's actually how our friendship started, was because she worked for us. And looking back in retrospect, when we actually had to close the store and start preparing blunts and had to cut back her hours, that's when she really, I think, started becoming a little bit more distant. So I question, was our friendship really about us? Or was it just because I was her employer? But regardless, that's just a question. It doesn't really need an answer to it, because I can feel it in my heart. But when I was getting attacked on Facebook, when all that happened, nobody that I'm really close to, well, Kim did. I can't say that Kim did. And yeah, had my back, and I thought out of everybody, this person would have had my back. But she didn't. And then she'll give me the excuse, well, I'm not on Facebook all the time, I don't see everything, da da da. When you're friends with somebody on Facebook, you can see when they're online. And when you're in mutual groups, you can see when they've reacted or commented on a group post. Or you've got mutual friends, you can see when they've commented or reacted on your friend's post. So to say that, oh, I'm never on Facebook all the time, is such a cop-out and a fucking lie. Like, I would see her all the time. So I was like, okay. Well, when we finally spoke about that incident, me being attacked, because I actually ended up deleting everything on there, and I dropped out of the race. And I'm glad I did so, because in retrospect, that, wouldn't have been a good thing for me, dealing with everything else that I'm dealing with. That would have just piled another 4 years of bullshit on my plate. But I did get a little bit of vindication, though, because more recently, our mayor, John Henderson, who is the one who sent his lynchman after me. And I know that because somebody, I can't say who, told me, who was very close to the whole situation. He is a denier of residential schools. He is a denier of what these children went through, him and his wife. And they tried to pass around a book. I don't know if it was just through council or in their circle of friends, about denialism of residential schools. And he wasn't invited to the Day of Remembrance to give a speech here in Sechelt by our local Indigenous band. It was actually the mayor of Gibsons who they had come up and do it. And then there was this big report. They actually had to hire another firm to bring in and have this big report done up. And it all falls on the mayor and his unwillingness to apologize. So I had a little bit of vindication there, because I can't say that anything would have been better in our community if I was mayor, but I can guarantee 1,000,000% that would not be an issue. But anyway, so back to this person that I had to create the bound. When all this came out and we actually talked, the things that she said to me are literally burnt into my soul, into my heart. She told me that calling myself Indian, even though I come from India, was insulting to indigenous people. She told me that comparing my experience to what people who survive residential schools and day schools was like comparing apples to oranges. She says their language was stolen. Yes, yours was too, but it wasn't the same. She said they were raised in a corrupt system. You were too, but it wasn't the same. She said they changed your name like they did theirs, but it wasn't the same. She said you were raped and beaten just like they were, but it wasn't the same. Those words really, really, really stung. But because of the friendship between our two husbands, I couldn't do that to mine. Our circle's gotten really small over the last few because, you know, what happened with COVID, everybody, isolation, And then also, I think when you're going through stressful stuff and that, people tend to distance themselves. And I really think that's what's happened to Doug and I over the last several years, you know, fighting our battles. You know, it actually started back in 2015, the first time we got raided, how many people actually distanced themselves from us. But that's okay because we have always had each other's. We always have each other, and we're each other's best friends. And so thank God we have each other. But yeah, it's really surprising how many people. I don't think they're doing it out of. I don't think they're doing it on purpose. People just don't know what to say sometimes. And then time goes on and people get busy and shit happens and, you know. But yeah, so I didn't want to do that to Doug. But then, as the years have gone past and, you know, he experienced her wrath a couple of times and over different things and, you know, and I've really tried, actually, after this happened, I didn't talk to her for a year. And then we finally started communicating again, but it was very, you could feel the tension. But then more recently, during the last federal election, we went out for breakfast with them. And just out of the blue, and I don't know why she would say this to me, of all people, that she sent Jagmeet Singh a racist email. She told him that he needs to loosen the rope around the turban on his head. And that was the line. I'm still shocked that she would even say that to me. But it's her typical behavior, you know. During COVID, she would go online and attack anti-vaxxers, like their family. Like even if they died, she would like stalk their family. It was just, but I never said anything, you know. That's her thing. She was grieving because of something else that happened in her life, and people grieve in different ways. So, you know, that was anger, and I understand that. I just wish she would have had the same understanding and compassion about my anger, because you can get angry when things aren't going right in your day or traffic is pissing you off, but there's a different type of anger when it's stemming from grief and trauma, like mine was at that time. I was so fucking angry for what the system and what those adults who were supposed to protect me as a child did to me. I was so angry, and I still am, but I've come a long way since then. I'm not that little girl. I can be angry as a woman to what happened, but eventually that anger turns into understanding. And then if you have understanding, it's easier for you to let it go. So I get that anger stemming from grief is a lot different than anger because of road rage. But I finally did it today. And it took me so long, and it was just a simple touch on the phone. Unfriend, block. And it was so hard for me to do. But I did it. And you know what? I can literally feel the negative energy leaving my body. That I no longer have to have that loop playing in my brain when I can see her online, but she's not responding to me, she's not reacting, she's not got nothing. Now I won't see that. And that is one of the conditions that I have to deal with from my trauma is dissociation order. And if you don't know much about dissociation disorder, it's part of your fight or flight system. It's where you can literally, you detach yourself. And it's really hard to explain. For example, like, if you look at an actor, they're able to play several different roles, you know, and those really good ones can really capture the essence of that character. And in a way, that's like disassociation, being able to become something else. But on the other side of that, there's that disassociation where it protects you. And I'm using my dissociation disorder as a superpower. Because it's enabled me to be able to cut toxic relationships out of my life and not look back. I realized that last week after I had broke my own boundary by opening that door for my sister. And when I did that, it just ripped those band-aids off all over again. I was like, why the fuck did I do that to myself? Don't. Creating boundaries is healthy. Keeping yourself in check with those boundaries can be hard to do. But again, once you do them, you will be better off. You got to get rid of all that toxic energy out of your life, whether it's somebody that's been in your life for a long time or a short time, whether you still hold a place in your heart for them. Because I will always hold a place in my heart for my sister, for this person. And I know if something really bad happens one day and they reach out, I will be there. Because that's just who I am. But I don't have to have their negative energy in my life. I need to create peace and calmness to be able to enjoy everything that I have been blessed with. So, yeah, those are my thoughts for today. Again, I wanted to thank everybody who reached out to me after my last video about boundaries. I'm so grateful that if I was to help you, just even in the slightest, to make you realize that you need to speak your truth too. Because speaking about it can release it. So if I've given that to you, I'm grateful. And I'm grateful that I can be a safe space for others, because I knew for too long how it felt not to have that safe space. You know, this year Doug and I have been together 20 years, but it took me 17 years of being with him to feel like I was safe enough to finally speak my truth. And I don't want it to take 17 years before I feel healed. But yeah, so if I've helped you in any way, I thank you, because you in turn have helped me by reaching out. So I wish you all a wonderful day. May you find your voice, because people want to hear from you. I see you. I see you. I hear you. And I'm here for you. Always. Much love.